Hi, I'm Bob Schmidt with Home Remodel Workshop. So you're going to get down in that basement, you're going to build you some walls, maybe make you a family room or a nice washer and dryer area. There's a few things to know about layout when you get down to do that are very critical that you do properly so you have a good finish. I'll let you know what they are. Let's get to work. Now, I'm going to be covering a lot of information very quickly. If I can get all of this information into one segment, I will. If not, I'll have to make more. I think it's important that you know the type of construction that we're planning on doing before we start. So I drew a small diagram here. Here's your concrete floor. Here's your foundation wall. This little yellow line you see going up here is a space between the inside of the concrete and the back of the wall stud. Down here we have a treated bottom plate, and up here we have an untreated wall stud and top plate. Of course, this is your existing first floor joist that you're going to be building up to. Now that you have an understanding of the way I'm planning on constructing these walls and the way I advise you construct these walls, I can show you how to get these lines exactly where they need to be so you have nice square walls, nice plumb walls. For 2x4 walls, measure in from foundation wall as little as 4.5 inches up to 5 inches and snap a chalk line. Do the same thing on another foundation wall as to create an inside corner. Use 2 longest foundation walls available. So now you have your first 2 chalk lines run down the inside of your foundation wall. It's time to build, right? Wrong. These are just temporary chalk lines. Now what you have to do, and this is critically important, is you have to find out for sure that this corner is 90 degrees. Now there's a method for doing that, which I'll show you how to do it. But a good question is why do I have to be so sure that this is 90 degrees? Well, if you're putting a tile floor down in your room and it gets smaller as it comes this way, that's not going to look good. That's what will happen. Or if you're putting a drop ceiling grid in your room and it gets smaller as you're coming down to one side, maybe it ends up with a little teeny strip to nothing, that's not good. Or if you have a pattern in your carpet and the pattern runs onto an interior wall and disappears and then comes back, that's not good. That's also because you're not 90 degrees. And let's say you want to build an entertainment center over here in this corner. You have these pre-made cabinets. Guess what? They're made at 45-degree angles. They will not fit the wall properly on either side unless these corners are 90 degrees. Now these 2 green lines are going to represent the chalk lines that you made down these long walls of your foundation. Now the method that we're going to use for squaring up these chalk lines is called the 3-4-5 method, which is basically as simple as this. You measure from the corner of where the chalk lines meet, and on one side, it doesn't matter which side, you measure 3 feet. On the other side, you measure 4 feet. And across this diagonal, as a check, you need to make sure that this equals 5 feet. Now, any multiples of this will work. If you have a particularly long area, a big area that you can work in, you can make this 6 feet, you can make this 8 feet, and this should measure 10 feet. Use the largest number that you can use in your area because it'll make the walls more accurate in the long run. So basically what happens is if you measure 6 feet here, put a mark, measure 8 feet here and put a mark, and let's say you go to measure the 10 feet here. And when you measure across the 10 feet, let's say it's 9 foot 11 and a half. You'll say, well, that's pretty close to 10 feet. We'll call that square. That's not a good idea because what will happen is you would be 1/2 inch off in this 6 foot number here. Now that means every 6 foot down the wall, depending on how long your wall is, you're going to be an additional 1/2 inch off. So that would be 1/2 inch, 1.5 inches, 2 inches. If this is a really long room and you have that tile or drop ceiling, that's going to start showing up, or it's going to show up in your floor carpet pattern. So now what do? Okay, what do you do if this ends up being 9 foot 11 and 1/2? Now you know that that's less than what the 10 foot is. So you know these two lines have to be spread farther apart. Now, how do you decide which one or whether it's a part of both of them that needs to be spread? Basically, you look at the existing structure. If you have a beam that's running through the center of your basement, drop a plumb bob down from that beam, snap you a line on the floor, and measure over. If it says this is a much smaller number than this, then go ahead and take this wall here and bring it out. Conversely, if you have floor joists running across your walls this way, and they're running pretty parallel to this wall, drop a plumb bob down here and here, snap your line on the floor, measure over to this line, and if it says that this side is much smaller, then you need to adjust this line over. Bottom line is, before you begin, you have to make sure that that's either 3, 4, 5, or 6, 8, 10, and that will make this 90 degrees. These two marks that you have here to begin with, every other interior wall, soffit that you're going to build, everything else is going to be measured off of these two walls. So take your time. This is very important to make sure this is very accurate. Now, I've actually seen people say, well, I'll just take my framing square and throw it in that corner, and if it looks good, then it's good. If you're off by as little on this 16-inch length, if you're off by as little as 1/16 of an inch, by the time you get down to the other end of the wall, you could be off as much as 2 inches. So even though it's not even perceivable that you're off the line, this isn't an accurate way of doing it. The larger the square number you can get, the better off you're going to be. Well, I did it again. I ran out of time. But I plan on making a number 2 to this segment so that I can finish getting you through the next step. If you like this video, please subscribe. Check out our home channel if this doesn't interest you, because we have many other video topics there. And thanks.